I'm Mary Lou Stacey, and it's my pleasure to share this presentation that I recently gave to the board members of our independent Christian school. I was seeking an increase in funding support for one of our 3 goals in our annual education plan. The goal is rooted in a scripture that's central to our school's mission from 1 Peter 3:15. Be ready for an answer for your faith with gentleness and respect. In the last few years, our staff and parents have noted high school students are not confident in their faith and struggle with feeling isolated as a Christian in a culture that seems hostile to them at times. Why? What's happened? According to many Christian leaders, we no longer have a common understanding of the fundamental principles of a Judeo-Christian worldview present in our culture. This shifted reality means sharing the gospel and living out faith in the public square is a different experience for our children than the cultural context most of us enjoyed in our youth. When Peter preached to the men of Israel in Acts 3, 5,000 people came to Christ. Peter named the fathers of the faith. When he did that, his audience understood the deeper meaning of his message. Let's compare that to Acts 17, when Paul was preaching to the wise philosophers in Athens, who did not know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We know the response of Paul's audience to his message was very different. Awareness of this cultural shift helps us prepare students for the reality of the culture they are entering when they graduate from our doors. Let's examine some data on the faith of Canadians. One of the organizations that informs our work is Cardis, whose recent report from 2022 on the status of faith in Canadian society highlighted a shift in the belief of our nation. As Cardis notes, 58% of evangelical Christians under the age of 40 years have recently left their faith. We've wondered, could there be a connection between this data and the recent drop we have noticed in the number of volunteers and people who attend our school events and chapels? Due to the possible impact of factors such as the recent health crisis and economic downturn on people's attitudes, beliefs, and comfort, we can't be sure. Whatever the cause, we are concerned. And we also recognize, though, an opportunity. As the Cardis data also shows, 25% of Canadians under the age of 40 and 75% of Canadians over 40 are new to their faith. This means there's an opportunity for Christians now to share their faith confidently with others, and we want to equip our students with the skills and confidence for this task. Looking further at the Cardis data, 24% of people under the age of 40 believe evangelical Christians have a damaging effect on Canadian society. And over 60% of Canadians, including Christians, believe that God and religious beliefs should be left completely out of the public square. Francis Schaeffer referred to this growing trend as the sacred secular split. Some of our staff and students have been blessed to hear Nancy Piercy, one of the evangelical leaders, addressing this problem a few years ago. In this short video clip on YouTube, Nancy tells the story of a student who graduated from a Christian high school, like ours, that was focused on preparing their students for engaging culture in the workplace and college after graduation. This college student said in her theology class on the first day of her college schooling, her teacher drew a heart on one side of the blackboard and a brain on the other side. Then the professor informed the students that the 2 images he drew are, in life, he said, as divided as the 2 sides of the blackboard itself. According to the professor, the heart is what we use for religion, and the brain is what we use for science. Nancy and other leaders who work with college students say many of them are willing to give up their Christian heritage when they're faced with the authoritative voice of professors making this type of claim. In the YouTube clip, Nancy Piercy poses an important question for us. Are we raising our kids with a Christian heart and a secular mind that leaves them unable to stand firmly on the foundational principles of Christian faith? As a staff, we prayerfully considered this important question when preparing our education plan. We know Scripture teaches that God was before all things and holds all things together, and that He is our all in all. But do our students know it? Can they talk about it confidently with others? And do they experience this scriptural truth in all of the classes we teach? We decided to find out. We observed each other's lessons, examined our unit plans, prayed, listened more deeply to conversations our older students were having, and asked the students questions related to the sacred secular split. What we found is that our students hold similar views to a culture that believes in the sacred secular split. A full decade ago, in 2011, Cardis reported that Christian schools have excellent discipline in their school culture, but their graduates were not involved in the public square. The advertised goals of Christian education, they said, were falling short. Our advertised goals include educating the whole child, heart, soul, and mind. Are we meeting these goals? According to our government survey results, 97% of our parents believe we are excellent at providing service and fellowship opportunities in a safe and caring environment. The word cloud represents a sampling of the level of thinking skills and the learning outcomes related to faith in our assignments. What you see is an emphasis on memorization and knowledge of biblical stories and characters. What is missing is an emphasis on critical thinking about Scripture. Using a rubric designed by a respected Christian author, teachers individually analyzed how biblical principles were part of their unit plans. The results were humbling. And the results confirm we need to improve the inclusion of critical thinking skills about biblical principles in our lessons. In the past, we've done book studies on biblical integration, attended webinars, and large conferences. If we want different results in the future, we need a new approach to professional development. Recent research has shown us that embedded instructional coaching, where PD is cyclical and continuous over time, creates measurable success. Transform PD, a consulting company serving Christian schools, offers this type of professional development. Their program matches our need and aligns with effective instructional leadership practices. They offer a program of PD over 2 years that we believe will help us achieve our goals for student discipleship. In the first year, Transform PD consultants work with a group of teachers selected to be instructional coaches and train them in the PAC method. Teachers create unit plans organized around essential questions related to biblical principles, answering such questions as what is truth, where did the world come from, and comparing the worldview and government curriculum with Christian principles. When students do this, we believe that will help eliminate the sacred secular split in their thinking. In the second year, Transform PD consultants would coach our whole staff in the same methods of Christ-centered worldview instruction, and they will also support our own coaches in their work. What will this cost? The Executive Director of ASCA addressed priorities in school budgeting at our fall conference, and our board approved the expenditure. We started our project in October. Since then, our coaches have created their first unit, observed each other teaching, and engaged in a coaching session in pairs with the lead consultant from Transform PD. What ideas have stuck with me since we started? When you engage in PD that is directly related to your mission, it energizes the school culture. Students engage actively in their learning when you ask them to consider essential questions related to biblical principles. What might I do differently moving forward? I wonder, do we need some extra sessions on understanding essential questions, as the PAC method is based on a framework of 9 essential questions related to worldview thinking? I also wonder, how will I measure success? How can I capture results for teacher growth? And most of all, student learning. Whatever unfolds in this exciting journey, I know our students and staff will benefit from the relational learning focused on Christ. We are blessed. References for this presentation are available on the next slide.